Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I'll call this meeting of the planning board to order. Is this being recorded, Eric?
Yes.
Thank you. And if there are other persons present doing the same, must notify me at this time. Is there anyone else who is recording either in person or remotely? Seeing none, I don't think. Thank you. And just want to mention that planning board member Chuck McKinney couldn't be here this evening. Amy is now a full member, and so that we would have a quorum, the mayor, who is an ex officio member of any multi-person board, is sitting in, so we have a quorum. And the first order of business for the planning board is approval of the meeting minutes of October 23rd. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And now we can go on to the public hearing.
George?
Yes.
George, this is a joint meeting of the Economic Development Committee and the Planning Board. So I have to do a roll call.
Yep. I was going to get to that next, Phil. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Will I go ahead? Okay. This is a roll call of the EDC. I'm Councillor Elmer. I'm here. Councillor Bottomley. Here. Councillor Gilmore.
Here.
Remotely. Councillor Healy.
Here.
Okay, great. And maybe we can just jump to the minutes because we have to approve them as well. We have minutes from our last meeting. Do I have a motion on the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the Economic Development Committee meeting here, minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, any objections, any abstentions? No, approved unanimously. Thank you. Okay, George.
Thank you, Bill. And so this is a public hearing on actually 7 proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance, 6 of which were initiated by the planning board, and 1 of which was initiated by the city council. We hadn't previously discussed how to go through these. I didn't know if we would introduce all of them and then take a comment. Since we have so many various ones, I just want to confer about how to proceed with that. Bill or Eric, did you have a suggestion about that?
Well, you could read the brief summary and then invite public comment, and then we could go over them one at a time in a little more detail, and then vote. Does that sound fair?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
So the summary.
Yes.
You want to read the planning board summaries and I'll read the city council summary? This is on page 2, public hearing, planning board. Miscellaneous zoning amendments.
If you want, Mr. Chairman, I can read that on behalf of the planning board.
That would be very good, Eric. Thank you very much.
So amendment number 1 is to change the family of poultry farm to make it clear that you can have up to 10 poultry, not to include any roosters. The reason for this proposed amendment is we have a lot of enforcement issues in the urban core of people having roosters on land less than 5 acres. And this language would clear that up. Right now, it's very vague. Nobody knows if they can have a rooster or not. This would simply clear that up to make it very clear you cannot have a rooster. Amendment number 2 is to change the definition of a 3-family dwelling. Currently, the definition is such that you have to build 2 units side by side and one can be above or below, but 3 cannot be on a side. So you can have 1, 2, 3. That is not currently allowed under the definition. The reason to change this is that we felt that an aging population, senior population in this area, Franklin County, especially Greenfield, that we should allow for more development options by allowing a 3-family to be side by side for accessibility for older residents. That's the reason for that one. Zoning amendment number 3 has to do with marijuana establishments. This one gets a little more complicated. There's recent rules under the Cannabis Control Commission that make it clear what communities need to do in terms of social equity applicants. Our current zoning ordinance limits marijuana delivery operators to 4, and that goes against the social equity policy now adopted by under the rules of the Cannabis Control Commission. So we want to eliminate that. So there's no limit on marijuana delivery operators, which are specifically slotted for social equity applicants under the CCC. So we want to become in line with the regulations. Amendment number 4 is the sign ordinance. The planning board recently went through a very detailed and heavy effort to change these regulations to eliminate some level of government. In this case, having to go before 2 boards, the licensing commission and another board. So those amendments were done. But under further review of former Chief of Staff Daniel Letourneau, she recommended some additional changes, and the board reviewed those changes, came up with what they agreed with, and so these are as a result of that. It doesn't include all the changes that former Chief of Staff Danny wanted done, but it includes a couple of them. So one of the situations is the new fire station. They want to put up a electronic messaging sign, which is now prohibited. So we felt that it should be important to allow municipal uses to have such signage. So we added the language with the exception of municipal uses. So dynamic display signs, also known as electronic message centers, are still not allowed except for municipal uses. And we also wanted to eliminate an extra level of review from the licensing commission when it comes to signage, traffic control signage. It really should be the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Department of Public Works, not the licensing commission. So we removed that as we did previously with all the other amendments we did last year, eliminating the extra review by the Greenfield Licensing Commission. Zoning amendment number 5, we received a letter from Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection saying that we need to amend our ordinance. So we amended it according to their letter, which is to reference the correct map. I do want to add something to this that's not in your packet or anything else. Right now, the amendment says to cross off dated July, it reads as shown on the official zoning map and then crossed off dated July 28, 2014. I added the limit language and as amended, but what I want to do is add the language, the official zoning map dated June 21st, 2023, and as amended. And that will meet DEP's request. And they also requested that we change the numbers of the system, zone 1, 2, and 3 from the numbers 1, 2, and 3 to Roman numerals 1, 2, and 3. Why? They just want to keep it in line with the regulations and they're telling us to do it. So that's why we're doing that. Those are the 5 amendments for what I call kind of minor amendments. And then there's a very large amendment, which is updating our open space cluster development ordinance. Right now, the ordinance, this ordinance was written in the 80s. It's very old. The whole purpose of this is to modernize it, bring it up to date with what most communities are doing in the Commonwealth and throughout the country. This is also recommended in our Sustainable Master Plan, 2014 Sustainable Master Plan. It specifically referenced that, and it says we need to update this ordinance to bring it in line with modern ordinances. So that's what this is. We worked with the Franklin Regional Council of Governments over several months and have come up with this proposed language to update the ordinance. And that's the reason for that change.
And then the one that came from the city council changes the rules for what requires a major development review. from 3,000 vehicle trips per day that the city council voted in 4 years ago to 2,000, which is reason for the change. The general commission thresholds were raised to 3,000 trips per day from 1,000 4 years ago by the city council. In retrospect, this is my opinion, they were set too high, i.e. relaxed too much, limiting the city's oversight and allowing major developments to proceed without major development review. 2,000 trips per day is the level used by the state for its Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act reviews. So, are we open for discussion, public comment on those? We have two names here, Al Norman and John Richardson.
And I will open the public comment for the planning board public hearing. Thanks.
And I'll open them for the EDC at 6:20. So
I wasn't first on the list.
well, we're gonna go, like, Al was first.
Yeah.
Al, you want to say your piece?
Sure, thank you. Members of the planning board and EDC, good evening. Mayor.
Hi.
I'm not going to comment on what Eric described as the first five, except on number one, I feel sorry for the roosters. Somebody needs to put in a word for the roosters. But enough on that. I do want to say that, just a comment, I don't understand 3 dwellings side by side and how that's different, how that couldn't be handled under cluster open space zoning. Having worked with elderly people for 37 years, I never heard a request of having 3 units side by side. The reason we have triple deckers in Dorchester is because there's no land. But I think that having 3 units side by side could be done through open zoning, open cluster development. I don't see why not. Elderly people don't usually move in groups of 3s. They don't know each other. Condominium developments are attractive and common to many older people. That's fine, but I don't think you need to do it under a triple decker, a triple, whatever you want to call it, triple side by side. I just don't understand who brought that up or why it was so important, but I'm not going to oppose it because I think the concept that, yes, a lot of older people don't want to have to go to the 2nd and 3rd floor. I'm very sensitive to that. I don't think this is why we have to handle it this way. And I worry about what this would look like on a lot if you have 3 houses next to each other, but I'm not going to leave it to your wisdom to figure that out. But I came tonight really to comment on number 7, the MDR review. And I would just refer you to page 4 of 29 of your attachment. Those are the minutes of the August 8th, 2023 EDC meeting. I did attend that meeting. I did testify, so I'm not going to repeat what I said then, other than to say that the limit of average daily car trips was 500 in Greenfield for many years. In fact, probably for as long as 10 or 15 years. 500 car trips was considered to be adequate to trigger what we thought was an intelligent and enlightened ordinance called the Major Development Review, which has been used in many cases, including the major Walmart case that came through, which granted a special permit to a very large building. So I don't think it can be seen as an anti-development tool, but the MDR the trigger was at 500 car trips average for many, many years. In 2016, it was changed by the city council to 1,000 car trips. And then in 2019, in one of the most unfortunate votes I think has ever happened in this city, this was changed to 3,000 to accommodate the desire of one councilor who wanted to be able to switch his vote to be for a library if he got certain concessions from the council. One of them was this one. At the time, if you look back at the minutes from the August 3rd meeting August 8th meeting when I testified, this was the figure of 3,000 when it was chosen, when it was passed by the city council, was done without any understanding of what the context was for that. And in fact, the president of the city council at the time was quoted in the Greenfield Recorder as saying, if you're going back and looking for some rationale for this, there is none. That we have no evidence-based study that said 3,000 is right. So I and others testified that if you're gonna, I would rather see the limit brought back down to 1,000, but if you want to have a compromise, go back to the MEPA level. The Massachusetts Environmental Protection Act office in Massachusetts uses 2,000 as the car trip threshold. If you have a project that you come to the town with more than 2,000, you would go through a major development review. And the number of the things that are advantageous about that is that the MDR has sections dealing with things like fiscal impact on the community, more in-depth look at traffic and more in-depth look at traffic level of service, things that we don't do in a more brief review. So I think this is a good one. I commend the EDC chair for moving this forward and the city council, and I hope you'll do it because I think that this is more reasonable. It is what the state does. So it is based on a metric that's already been established by MEPA as opposed to a number pulled out of the hat as admitted by the president of the city council. So those are my comments. Thank you.
John?
I'm glad you agree, because I think the Roosters need some advocacy as well.
I thought they spoke for themselves.
Just in the morning. So, yeah, we wanted to just come in and say a couple things. I mean, I think there's a practical purpose for roosters. Also, I wanted to ask you read that in stating that the amendment was to only make that clear that roosters were not allowed. Is there other language besides the farming, poultry?
Only on 5 acres or less. If
Right,
you have more than 5, presumably you can have a
It says
rooster.
there that it's allowed up to 10 poultry. Is there other language? Because you said it's to clarify that roosters are not allowed, but that statement in itself would seem to me that roosters would be allowed.
Precedent, set for the last 20 years, the city has not allowed roosters on land less than 5 acres.
No.
By that definition. We're trying to clarify that so that when people come into town, they can read that themselves and understand roosters are not allowed on land less than 5 acres.
Okay, because as I read that, I mean, poultry to me doesn't specify the sex of the bird. So as I read it, it
Well,
wouldn't say.
there's a sentence in there that says no rooster would be.
There is an additional,
Yeah,
there's an additional piece of that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the bold ital says up to 10 poultry, not to include roosters.
Right, in the proposed new
Right,
language,
yeah.
but I mean, in the current form, you're saying it's just that's how we've always done it. But it's not written that way now, right?
It's vague and that's how it's been interpreted for 20 or more years. So we have to keep enforcing it that way. We can't change it midstream, called administrative clause, a legal term.
I mean, I think we could change it, we could say it includes 10 poultry and 1 rooster. Right, like we could change it, we don't have to interpret it, we can interpret it any way we like, because that's the point of what we're doing. So all I wanted to say, I don't even have a rooster, we have chickens. All I wanted to say is that there's a purpose for roosters, they're protection for the other hens. They propagate more chickens for free and they raise themselves, it's a big benefit to people who have chickens. I think it should be left up to the neighbors, left up to the people that are there with them. We have chickens, we have neighbors who have chickens, we all make, we all make, things make noise, right? Like roosters wake up in the morning, they crow later in the day, people have to use gas leaf blowers in their lawns to maintain their lawns. They have to do certain things throughout the day that make noise. I think there's a difference, like if somebody in downtown had 6 roosters, that might be different than something else. And I think, we call ourselves a right to farm community. And I don't know why that means only people that are fortunate enough or financially, well off enough to hold more than 5 acres. I think it's a case by case basis. I think it should be up to it should be first up to neighborhoods to decide amongst themselves. If they can't decide, then it's brought forward on a noise complaint. My thoughts.
Thank you. Actually hear from someone in the business, we don't always hear.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wants to speak on any of these topics? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing for the EDC at 6:29.
And so Eric, we need a motion to close the public hearing for the planning
Typically,
board.
there's a motion in a second and a vote to close the public hearing.
Okay,
Thank you.
my bad. Do I have a motion that from the EDC that we close the public hearing for the EDC?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Say
Aye.
aye. Aye. So that's
And
unanimous.
I'll ask the same thing of the planning board.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
That concludes the public hearing. We don't have to deliberate today, is that right?
That is correct.
We do have to get it to the city council by a certain day though, don't we?
We have 65 or 90 days from this hearing.
Public hearing, okay. All right,
The planning board does have on the agenda to deliberate tonight.
okay. Well, it wouldn't hurt for us to hear that, I guess. We may hold off on our deliberation.
Okay. Thank you. And I did want to mention regarding the planning board posted agenda, Eric, one we had next a discussion item regarding creation of a new river corridor overlay district. But because we only have two sitting planning board members, and we're going to have someone from FERCog as a consultant on that discussion, it seemed prudent to hold off. Had that been rescheduled, Eric, when you spoke with?
I mentioned that we would do it after the holidays, so we will need to schedule them sometime after January 1st.
Great, thank you. So the next item for the planning board is deliberation on these proposed zoning amendments. So I assume it makes the most sense to take them one at a time.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Is the EDC deliberating and voting tonight? Because I'm
That
pretty sure, like,
wasn't-
planning board can't vote tonight, correct?
No, the planning board can vote tonight and deliberate. It's on the agenda.
Yep.
Well, no, I mean, because the mayor can be part of a quorum, but I know that the mayor can't vote when they fill in to make a quorum. I think it's the only thing the mayor can't do. So I was just wondering, like, does that mean that the EDC, are we deliberating and voting?
I wasn't planning to do it. I'm happy to hear from you guys what you want.
I function as a regular member of the board.
Just for clarification purposes, Councilor Gilmore, it's our understanding, the mayor's understanding that she can act fully as a board member when she meets a quorum,
No,
including
it's
the vote.
actually, no, it's in the city charter. I can send you the section if you're interested.
Yes, we're very interested.
Yeah, it's section 3-2, paragraph F. But it says to make motions and exercise every other right of a regular member of such body, but not including the right to vote.
Kind of counterintuitive, and why would even bother showing up there if you can't vote? No
Well, I mean,
sense.
because it was important for us to have a public hearing. I think we all recognize
We had to
that.
do that. I see. Well,
Well, I don't have a computer. Does anybody read that language? Can somebody read that language?
Sheila just read it.
Oh, you did? Okay. I missed that.
Yeah.
You want me to do, I can do the whole paragraph if you want. I just did the last
That would be
sentence.
great, Sheila. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's 3-2, paragraph F, if you want to look it up later. The mayor shall be by virtue of office a member of every multi-member body of the city. The mayor shall have a right as such ex officio member to attend any meeting of any multiple member body of the city at any time, including so-called executive sessions, to participate in the discussions, to make motions, and to exercise every other right of a regular member of such body, but not including the right to vote.
Okay.
That's pretty clear.
So,
Clear.
I mean, yeah, like we need to have the public hearing. I get that. I didn't know if that was going to affect economic development, but it sounds like we have time before we have to vote.
Right, we have 90 days.
Everybody has 90
Yeah,
days.
we all have 90 days, so the planning board cannot deliberate this evening.
Okay, I think we're sprung pretty much, right?
Well,
Um,
you guys are,
Okay,
and they are.
EDC I would take a motion for adjournment for the EDC portion of this. Anybody want to move that? You want to stick around?
So moved.
Second, anybody?
Second?
Any discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your hand or say aye. All right. That concludes the EDC portion of this meeting at 6:35. This is typical for an EDC meeting. We move fast and break things. I'm going to leave this item sheet with you, Eric.
Have a great night.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for
Thank
showing
you,
up,
Sheila,
guys.
for that information.
Thank you for that, yeah.
It's amazing what you learn on the Charter Commission.
Yeah.
So,
I had it confused with the school committee.
It's back.
so that is a significant piece of news that none of us were familiar with. Does that mean that we have a quorum of 3? Can you have 2 votes to pass anything? I think not, right?
You can
have to
pass
have
meeting
3
minutes.
votes,
You can do
You
minutes.
can do minutes.
which we did. Okay.
So everything's legit. I don't know about the A&R plan, though. That's a good.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably would not be able to be.
Yeah, I would say that we wouldn't want to take any legal chances and we must put up the A&R plan.
How many, how long do you have to do an sign off on an
Actually, since it clocks in, it's 21 days. So if it's over 21 days, but then it's constructively approved.
Right. You over 21 now?
We will be before the next meeting.
Sorry about that.
You want, is that the intention, or not the intention, but
Well, it's up to you. If you want to avail yourself of that constructive approval, it's your decision. If you want to wait for the board to actually hear it at a meeting, officially vote to make it clear, you can do that as well.
I don't know when that will be.
That would be December 7th.
Well, it was going to be October, and then it was going to be November 6th and November 16th, so I'm questioning whether or not you'll be able to pull it off in December, because that gets more difficult as we get close to the holidays. So, does it have the same standing, the same strength if it's goes past 21 days?
Yes, it's constructively approved and a valid plan that can be
Might be the
reported.
simplest for the planning board as well. I'm just, yeah. So I guess I'm trying to get on the market before the snow falls, you know, to be able to move forward with getting it in someone else's hands. So I think I'll let it pass, and unless I hear some reason not to from you folks.
Really, it's really your
It's an
decision.
A&R. I mean,
It's your choice.
Yeah.
It's over 21 days. You have the right to say, no, it's constructively approved.
And it's an A&R. It was done by, surveyor. You reviewed it for me as well, so we know it's.
It's valid, it meets the criteria.
Yes, thank you. So let's just do that. And what, can you tell me, Eric, today or tomorrow, give me a call, let me know when 21 is over?
Yes.
That'd be great.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, folks.
Sorry, you had to come in.
No worries at all.
Well,
Wow.
guess we get to go home too.
Okay. Well, that is a bit of news. I had never heard that before. Obviously, none of us had.
None of us.
That detail.
Well, it doesn't happen that often. Yeah, no, it doesn't happen that often, so. And I had it confused with the school committee,
Understood.
part of that section. So, which I can vote on, or, a mayor, doesn't have to be me. Yeah, mayor.
Well, it's good to hear about Sarah.
Oh, we have a new member?
Yeah, well, you will have by the next meeting, Sarah.
She was appointed. Sarah, remember she came to the meeting? Sarah?
That's
Yeah.
very exciting.
Yes.
And come on, guys, get me somebody else. And next Tuesday after next. I have until the 28th.
I think my term ends in December.
Well, no, you just were, are you filling out somebody's term?
Aren't I?
No, you were, had your own term, well, you, as an alternate, and you became a full member, so that would still be.
Yeah, it'll be
3 years.
Oh,
3
okay.
years.
All right.
I can't get off that either.
You're good for 3 years.
Well, I've been trying to reach Tim Dolan because he had expressed some interest in,
Oh, I know. Well, not this time around, but I asked him probably whatever the last time you needed to, you had a good shift. I think when Charles went off the first time. So last summer, last spring, last summer, whenever it was, I rattled his chain a couple of times, but then he told me he was going back to graduate school and he thought he didn't think he would be able to do that in this too. But I don't know if he ever did go back to graduate school, so keep trying.
Yeah, I
All right.
cornered him at the gym and I don't think he really appreciated it, but I'm gonna keep doing it.
and there was
Um,
someone who came to the last meeting as well who had a potential interest.
At the meeting minutes, who was?
Who was that woman that was here earlier on their screen? Shanti Douglas?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
May have been an interested party, just haven't stepped forward. Have until the 28th to get people on to the December meeting.
Okay.
November 28th.
Yeah. If you know someone.
And there's no hope of getting Dave to Chester back on?
Well, how many times do we?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I mean, even Chuck, I mean, once you get in your 80s, I mean,
Yeah,
it's serious health problems that are going to be coming up. I mean, David's already 2 major health issues and now Chuck. So,
yeah,
I mean, I really appreciate their efforts to volunteer at that age.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good thing, but
It's inspiring.
Absolutely.
very inspiring, but.
But you need some young blood. Well, that's a good thing about Sarah. She's younger. Hi, Peter. Are you still on? No, you would have to recruit, if you can hear me, you'd have to recuse yourself if on fire station issues, but that probably wouldn't happen that
Yeah,
often.
we just built the station. We'd love to have you.
Yeah. And they're only one meeting a month now. Getting off easy.
And will, speaking of the time frame, will Sarah be officially sworn in by then, or would that?
Well, we
would be
hope
more-
so. Yeah, I think she can, there used to be this 30 days, but I don't think we exercise that much. I can make a note to ask, but she can come in and get sworn in whenever, I think.
Yeah, we should clarify that so that we know, otherwise
Yeah.
December 7th would be in jeopardy as well.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah. That's what I was wondering about the, that 30-day waiting
yeah.
period that I remember that experience.
I
when
feel
first saw it.
like Kathy's relaxed that before, though, especially when we were in dire straits.
She'd be willing to do that, it'd be great.
So let me see.
Mr. MacGyver is considering stepping up. We certainly do need you.
Alan and Linda Collins are late.
Let them know the meeting's over.
Sarah, can you sworn in? Sure, Peter, do it.
So you can put him up in the next meeting, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, Peter, you have to write to me and express your interest. Send an email.
Awesome.
You want her sworn in before December 7? That might be a little slow. That might be a little too soon.
Hmm.
It's only,
Yeah.
what was that?
Be
3
good to
weeks?
know as soon as we could, yeah.
Okay, I've written a note. I'll ask Kathy.
Okay. For the person who just signed in, we're discussing potential planning board members. We've had to cancel some of our business for this evening because we only have 2 planning board members and the mayor's sitting in to give us a quorum, but we can't perform much of the business we had planned. So, because the mayor can't vote in these circumstances. So, if there's nothing further, is there any other business, Eric, from the point of view of reports, or do you want to mention about the next meeting?
Just the next
If we
meeting
have-
date, It's December 7th, 6 p.m. at John Zahn Community Center. We have 2 items on the agenda. Public hearing continued from September, which is a common driveway on Fairview Street or Avenue. I forget if it's Avenue or Street. And also site plan approval for 6 Arch Street for the 60 Wells Street project, temporary relocating them to, they were going to do it in a different location near the Salvation Army buildings, but it didn't work out. So now they want to do it at 6 Arch Street, and they're coming before the board for that site plan approval.
Gotcha.
Good.
And also we'll be bumping, I guess, the deliberation we were going to do
Deliberation.
this evening.
Correct.
But I didn't catch all of the discussion about the A&R. It's going to be
Constructively approved.
So the law is in Mass General Law that if the board doesn't take action on a approval not required plan within 20 or 21 days, I don't remember if it's 20 or 21, I gotta be honest. It's one of those numbers. Then it is called constructively approved.
Yes.
And it has just as valid as a plan that was actually voted on by the planning board.
No, I understand that. You were discussing it with the.
Oh, yes,
applicant.
he chose
I couldn't
to,
hear.
his timing, he has some timing issues. He wants to market the site, so he wants to avail himself of the constructive approval.
Got it. I just couldn't catch the conclusion of that discussion. Thank you.
Somebody has to come in and sign it, right?
Yes. Which requires you, Mr. Chairman, to still come in and sign the plans.
Oh, right. We did that once, not that long ago, I remember.
Correct.
And this was just to touch on it. It was unusual A&R. You and I touched on it briefly because
Yeah, it was.
it offered 2 options.
Yes, it's the first time that's happened since I've been here where you have one piece of land and he's offering 2 different options.
Yeah, they didn't differ that much though, did
No.
They didn't differ much, but he wants to market the site, whichever one is more marketable, and he'll record
they?
that.
Oh, I see. There's a lot 1 and a lot 2 on one, and then there's just a lot 1 on one.
Correct.
Oh, well, no, there's a lot 2 behind the lot 1. How do you get to lot 2?
I don't have a copy of that.
Doesn't make any sense to me. Well, it's not my problem, unless you don't have a quorum on the 7th.
No, I thought it was, I thought it was just the amount of frontage.
have to.
Was gonna.
I have to do the same thing. They are in the download folder. If you save them, you just go in here. They're always there. Look at
Mr. Collins, we can hear you.
this one here. You got folders, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you got here. Did you do each one?
He's asking
Mr.
you about the
Collins?
zoning amendment.
Oh, the zoning amendments. You're asking me, Mr. Collins, about zoning amendments. We reviewed we held the public hearing on all the proposed zoning amendments.
Tell me you didn't vote on them yet.
We did not vote on them yet. The planning board will vote on December 7th, deliberate and vote.
Did you hear that, Mr. Collins?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I guess. I just wanted to acknowledge you seemed to be asking about something, but
Okay,
yeah.
I'll do the one up top. And you do it if you know it all about it. It's the same thing.
I don't think he's
Mr.
addressing
Collins,
us.
are you speaking with us?
772
Yeah, I don't think he's addressing us.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right. I guess all in favor would be me and Amy, right?
Aye.
Aye, aye.